All right, today we will be talking about Hyatt Regency, which is a very famous case study. It ties in well with our unit because it has to do with something that happened in this hotel regarding the structure of what was added inside the hotel. And since we are focusing on structures and strengths of materials, it ties in really well with what we are doing. This is a very famous case study, and when you go to school, if you take a civil engineering class, be prepared for them to reference this throughout the class. All right, some background knowledge. So this actually takes place in Kansas City. I know right now a lot of you are like, okay, she's such a homer. We're just learning about this because it has to do with Kansas City. That's not true. This is a very famous case study, like I had already said. It just happens to take place in Kansas City. So there you can see our Kansas City kind of has three downtown areas. So this is one of the downtown areas. They eventually kind of all lead into each other, but this is like Crown Center, Union Station area. So the building with the three oval windows is Union Station, and this is where the hotel was that we will be talking about today. Here's a picture of the hotel. So this on it says on July 1st, 1980, the four-story Hyatt Regency Hotel was Missouri's tallest building at the time. So I know things have changed, but as of now, this was pretty tall. It was also kind of state of the art. On top of the building, there was a revolving restaurant. I've actually eaten there before. It was really cool because I happened to eat there when it was close to 4th of July. So there were fireworks being shot off, and it's all windows. And so, anyways, it was a really fun experience. You can see this right here is I will talk about this. So this is a walkway that goes over the road that leads to the hotel, but the other side of the walkway goes to what's a mall called um, Crown City Union. What did I just call it? I just said it right. Crown Center, sorry, Crown Center. And there's also like Legoland, and then that Sea Life type place. I can't remember the name of that either. But that little pathway could take you to many other things, all that's downtown. So that's kind of a unique feature about the hotel. You can see it highlighted here. The top two pictures are from when I stayed at the hotel in 2019, whenever the Chiefs lost again to Tom Brady for the AFC Championship. We lost in overtime. But I just took this picture here because all these people are waiting for the Patriots to leave their hotel because they were also staying in this hotel. And so they were all like, this was in the morning. We left pretty early to go to the Super Bowl. And we did not stand around to see Tom Brady, but these people did. So I just thought that was kind of neat. That's the Union Station all chiefed out. So this is the spinning restaurant that you will see. And you can see it's beautiful, all windows. It's not in service anymore. It actually closed down a couple years ago. I'm assuming for business reasons. Maybe just weren't a lot of people not eating there, which is crazy because the restaurant was so nice. But anyway, so that's just a little background information about my experience at this hotel. All right. Here is a picture of where basically the story, for lack of better words, takes place. So on July 1st of 1980, the hotel was hosting what's considered a tea dance. And so this is really where you get dressed up, you go with your hubby or whoever, and then you essentially dance the night away. So I don't know exactly how many people were there at the time or how many people were expected to be there, but you can see the picture on the right is really a picture of everyone kind of all dressed up, ready to go. The picture on the left is what the hotel looks like. So you will see these walkways. You'll see a top walkway and a bottom walkway, and then you'll see the floor. So this is where everything is going to be takes place. So these people, I think it happened approximately at 7:05 or so. I think the whole event started around 6. And as you can see, there are a bunch of people underneath on the floor, right underneath that first walkway, a decent amount of people on the second walkway, then a few people on the third walkway. And so they're dancing. This is like a big event, a big night out. So everyone's pretty excited. And then moments later, there's a lot of people that were there. So there's a lot of like firsthand accounts of what had happened. But apparently there was just kind of like a couple popping noises. And then all of a sudden, the top walkway, the one that's all the way up here, fell and crashed onto the second walkway and then stayed there for a few seconds. And then both of those then crashed down to the ground. And so it turns out there were about 114 people or not about, there were 114 people that were killed during this tragedy, and 216 people were injured. And so, what happened? So whose fault was this, right? Because someone did something incorrectly, or the structure would still be there, right? This would not have happened. And so that is what we're really going to be talking about today. And you could see here, there's some pictures of the aftermath. So there's a lot of detailed information that I could go into, but it's pretty graphic. So I'll just give you I won't go into that much detail, but I'll give you just some information so you can just see how sad and tragic this truly is. So obviously, all the people that were wedged or all the people that were on the floors did not make it, because they had, thousands of pounds of concrete that fell on them. The people on the bottom, there were several people that got a limb that was caught. And so they're still alive, obviously in a lot of pain. But then this caused somehow the water main to turn on, and they couldn't figure out how to turn the water valve off. So it's also starting to flood, and people are being trapped. And so everyone's rushing to help. And there's like stories of people having to use like chainsaws to kind of remove the people that are stuck there, the leg or whatever that's caught underneath it. So it would be unbelievably tragic to be there, to witness this, much less to be one of those people that have to go through this. So, we're going to back up the story to kind of talk about what could have happened. This is the lead engineer, Jack Gillum. He was basically, he was the one who oversaw all of the design. So they put the walkway in as far as a way to get people to come to the hotel. It's kind of at the time it was like innovative, and just like a cool structure. And so this is him. He was the structural engineer that, again, oversaw everything. He's one of the main people in the story. Another person that's in the story is Haven Steel Company. So that is who he hired or subcontracted out to make the steel structures. All right. And so the story is really going to focus between Jack and then Daniel Duncan, who was also part of the story because he's the one who I think initially signed off, and then the steel company that made it. So as you can see here, the picture on the left shows whatever Jack's original design was. And him and what was his name? The other guy's name, Daniel, had signed off on this design. However, the steel company decided based on the threading, or it was too hard to manufacture that long of beam. So basically, that beam goes all the way through the picture on the left. And you could see that the two walkways are supported each by the one long beam. Then on the right, you will see how they change the design. So the design is, instead of making one long beam, they're going to then make two beams, right? And so this may not look like a big deal to you, but when we're done here, you're going to watch a video where you're going to see how big of a change this is. Because basically on that top floor, you're now carrying the weights of like the floor, the walkway, as well as the weights of the bottom walkway. Before, each of these were only had carrying their own weight. And the video you're about to see will make a lot more sense because they make a little model of this and show it to you. But essentially, this is what killed all of the people that were there because of this walkway. These supports here could not support the weight of two walkways. And so then it becomes an issue of who signed off on this. And so turns out, so that was Jack's original design, but he's a project manager, and so that he gave it to Daniel. And Daniel had the plans, and then he shared them with Haven Steel Company. Then Haven Steel Company supposedly called and had a conversation on the phone and said to Daniel that we are changing the structure. And Daniel said, "Okay, sounds great," and he signed off on it. And then, and that was it. And it was made and created. Jack, you can, if you go to the Wikipedia, you could, it says that a first year civil engineering college student would not have signed off on that structure, basically knowing that there's no way that would have, had the support needed. And so there is evidence of him saying that. But regardless, it did happen. And so who was at fault? Is it Jack, who was in charge, the overall person? Was it Daniel who agreed with it without doing the calculations, or was it the Haven Steel Company who just changed the plans, you know? Um, and it turns out Kansas City, so we'll go back to that later, um, ended up charging. I don't think they actually even charged any of these people. Haven Steel Company, I do believe, did go out of business probably because of this. Um, Jack and Daniel ended up not getting or receiving any jail time or anything like that, but they had their license removed. So the professional engineering license was removed, but not for the United States. It was removed for Missouri, Kansas, and I think one other state. I don't really know what the other state is. And then they said that Haven Steel Company wasn't found faulty because they were just doing what they were told. And so again, and it depends on. It's just interesting. So 114 people were killed by someone overlooking something. Um, since then, it has turned into Sheraton Hotel purchased it, and so now it's no longer Hyatt Regency, but you can Google Hyatt Regency Kansas City. But this is what the Sheraton Hotel now looks like. So this is where those walkways were, and you can see it's completely different type of structure now. The hotel still exists. You can still go stay there, but it is just a different name. And so the moral or the point of this story is when you're, and this isn't just civil engineering, this is just engineer in general. Like calculations matter, right? Signing off on things is always a big deal. So you want to always make sure that you double check and recheck everything. And you have plenty of people that look at it because we, as just, regular people, we trust engineers. Like every time we get into a car, every time we step into a building, every time we take a train, plane, so forth. And so that is a big responsibility being an engineer. And so I'm going to stop this video and then you're going to watch the explanation of the science behind or the math behind why the two walkways collapsed.